Okay, so this is my basic Warden build. Um, this is just what I was running in VSS earlier. So I got an Olo, Lightning, it's got a weakening enchant. I really don't know so much about traits. I keep going back and forth about, so don't look at with the traits and the enchants. I do different things with different groups. This has got Sentinel, Olo. I do Tri-Stats, Hollow, Fang, and I obviously need to upgrade my Hollow Fang. Magic recovery. Sometimes I do spell damage too. It can just depend on what the sets are. And mainly I really tweak enchants in sets I'm running a lot. So, oops, let me pull up my stats don't look right. What am I doing wrong? I think I ate the wrong food. Well, nope. Something is not right. Is that what I was running? It must have been. Okay. So, I was running Clockwork Citrus. So, I've got generally like my Mage, 32 or higher, 31, 32. Health, I run it a little bit higher, 1800. Right now I have a spell damage Mundus on. I honestly play around with it. It just depends. I like my Magicka 2200 or higher. Spell damage I like 1600 or higher. And then those numbers go up a lot, you can see, because of the Netch. So the Netch gives you the Magicka and gives you the Magicka sorcery and weapon damage, which really helps. It also restores your Magicka, so sometimes I can, because it gives you Magicka back. So I actually run a High Elf instead of a Breton because I don't need the regen as much because of my Netch, and then the High Elf gives me extra max Mag and spell damage. The other thing Blue Betty does is you get the ultimate from it. And there's the ability to increase our Magicka, just because it's slotted. So increase our Magicka and stamina recovery by 12%. What you can do, so these two buffs increase your damage done, increase your Magicka and stamina recovery. Your Blue Betty and your Fetcher Infection, prompt those. Fetcher Infection gives you that minor vulnerability, which is OP, replaces IA. So generally if you're running as a Warden in an endgame group, you're going to want to have this on, unless there's somebody else in the group that, where reason has it. I really want to start running my Fetcher on the front bar, so then I have that 2% buff on both bars to my Magic and Regen. I just haven't gotten used to it there yet, and I kept miscasting it, so I need to get used to that. So Fetcher, Betty Nudge, keep those on your bar. You get the passive bonuses from having them on your bar, and you also get, they do something useful for the group. This is my lightning bar. I'm really disorganized with how I'm explaining this. I like to have, this is Enchanted Grove. Gives you the minor endurance, minor intellect, and also increases your recovery. So this is a really good buff. It just essentially buffs up the whole group. This is the budding seeds I was telling you about. It gives you the heal over time. It also has the ability to be like a breath of life heal. And then when you look on here, you can see increase your healing done with green balance abilities by 2% for each ability slotted. So when I switch over to my healing, my resto bar, you can see I'm getting increased healing done based on the green balance abilities I got. And this is the minor toughness, which is really awesome. It's why they like to have wardens in the group, because you increase their health by 10% for 20 seconds. So you can see these passives are really awesome, because you're going to get constant regen back, and you're going to get the increase your healing. So these are all really awesome stats, and they're also why I'm less worried about regen on my warden than on my Templar, and I feel more comfortable running a high elf because I can go for the extra max mag without worrying so much about my regen. I like to run barrier for, especially in 4-man content, it's an oh crap moment. And it also gives you, if you've got the passive in assault, which I don't have. Sorry, support. you get this. I've only got level 1 here. Increases your magicka recovery by 5%. So this, just having this selected, gives me 5% more magicka recovery on this bar. Like I said, this was more... it's really awesome to have, especially because I spend most of my time on this bar, because this is where most of my healing skills are. So it's really nice to have. And you get extra regen, you know, it's important. And healing's always about a balance of like your regen, so your sustain, versus the amount that you can heal somebody for. I typically don't find, you know, that you really need heals bigger, especially when you start stacking, but it's always a balance. What else have I got here? So, oh, I don't use, let me go back up to where we were going through with the warden skills. I don't use, it's a frost coat, the one I use the most. This is cool, you know, you've got the reduction and stuff for people. I don't use it very much. I don't know, maybe I underutilize it. And this also has some passives, so you get your resistance buff because I've got this on the bar. But the rest of it doesn't really apply so much. Destro, I obviously have Destro Staff. With my back bar, I've got Blockade of Storms for the off balance. This is kind of a flex spot for me. Some trials or events, you never get close enough to the boss to proc it. So this is kind of one of my flex spots. And then this is a flex spot for me, Ellie Drain, because some trials, like the tanks, are running Ellie Drain, or the other healers running Ellie Drain is really good at keeping it up. It's only gets cast like every 20 seconds. So, Destro Staff, I have everything into my Destro Staff here, so you want, you know, the increased chance of the concussion for sure. Yeah, I probably don't need all these passives truly for a true healer, but I've got it on anyway. So, I never use my Resto Staff ulti. It is... I hate it, and I hate healers that use it, but that's just me. So I have Healing Springs. This, it does have a little bit of magicka. I think actually I should use Illustrious Springs, I think I have that on my Templar. I just must have forgot to change the morph here. Essentially, the big reason that I mean, it's a good AoE, it's a good basic heal. I like to have it, because if I have my Master's Resto, it helps increase regen back when they stand in there and I proc it. So that's nice. Radiant Regeneration I use more on my Warden than on my Templar, because Radiant Regeneration is a really nice, it has a really long range to it. So if you have people that are standing outside of group, you know, and they're kind of all over, so like Vast is a good example of a trial like that, or just groups that really aren't used to blocking or stacking, you know, Radiant Regeneration is really nice, and it has a pretty wide range, you know, it goes around you, so it's not like you have to be directly looking at them, which is really nice. So that sometimes ends up on my bar somewhere. I've moved things around. Combat Prayer, super useful. Always have this on your bar, except for very strange things. It's a good kind of spammable AoE. It grants minor resolve and minor berserker minor resolve, so it makes them hit harder and harder to heal. Everybody that's standing in front of you gives them a nice little heal as well. I always have this on my bar. There are very few trials that I don't, so pretty much Enchanted Growth, Combat Prayer. I mean, this is pretty much always my bar setup. I might move something around if I need another resto skill, but these skills are pretty much always on. These 5 somewhere. Always on. And there's some really good resto skill. So you want to make sure you've got Restoration Master. All this, Manner Medding, very important skills. Harness Magicka, I like it as a shield. I don't run all content with a shield, but if I'm running something new or I need it, it's there. And then I always have the passives in there, because those really do make a difference. I don't have that. Fighters, this is a skill I'm playing with. I don't typically use this, but sometimes in some trials or some locations you're going to want this. It's not first line skill, and it would be something I would flex in situationally. It's not something I use all the time, but I do have it unlocked. Daunted, Sanguine Altar. I will swap in Sanguine Altar for Blockade of Storms in some trials, or where I have Ellie Drain. It just kind of depends. Energy Orb is a must. You gotta have Energy Orb indefinitely. And what this does is it gives us energy. And it gives the restoration and resources. You've got, I do the Undaunted bonus. That means I've got the light, heavy, and medium armor set up. Inner Fire, I just have unlocked because you use it in VDSA as a healer. And I'm kind of going to play with Bone Shield and Trapping Webs just because there are other synergies for the group. Sometimes, you know, you want a synergy, but always Energy Orb, Sanguine Altar. I would have, always have Energy Orb on your bar, and then Sanguine Altar flexes in and out situationally. Aggressive Warhorn's the other skill that's almost always on my ulti bar, because it gives you that critical damage and increases mass magicka. It's just one that you always have. You're always going to want to have in rotation with other people. You always need it. Oh, okay. So there's a barrier where I talked about. A purge is another one you will. It's a flex skill. You're going to need it in some trials, not in others. You need it like in Maw and Hoff. Not so much in others, and then especially as a warden because you don't have the synergy from the grounded. What's that one that you purify from? Crap, I can't think of it. You don't have the synergy from that to cleanse. You really need to have purge on your bar, or have the ability to use purge. There's all my high elf skills. This is why I still high elf on this. And full damage, and I'm able to do this on my warden because I get so much magicka back with my other skills. Oh, and always make sure you've got points into alchemy, because you get, where is it? Potions last longer, so always make sure you've got that, because when you pop a spell pot, it'll last longer. You have that, like the extra regen. That's pretty much my setup. And then, like I said, so some of these numbers change depending on the bar I'm on too, but that's pretty much what I like to chill with. Yep, hope that helps.